Welcome back to another fabulous channel. I'm J Bookstore, and before we jump into the 18 books I read in April, let's quickly talk about Buffy-a-thon, which Buffy-a-thon is officially back. We took off another month unexpectedly. It wasn't intentional, it just ended up happening. I officially have a timetable for when Buffy-a-thon is going to happen. They're going to be playing every Thursday is the plan. The live streams will be coming out very soon. Buffy-a-thon for the month of May is a double season, which means we're doing season 3 and season 4, reacting to the best episodes of both seasons, and we'll do a live review of both seasons as well. I just want to quickly come in here and to announce that type of thing, and all that should be in the lives, and you should be able to put notifications on. I know not a lot of people can watch 44 episodes in a single month. They don't have time or whatever it might be, and that's fine. These lives are up forever. You can either just watch the reviews, you don't have to watch the reactions and stuff and catch up. Season 5 will go back to a normal month, and so you have much more time to catch up before the end of season 5. Let's chat about the 18 books I read this month. I switched over and started moving and doing these wrap-ups with Storygraph just because it's much more simpler and I have all the information I need right here. Plus, it was like a 3.5 or a 3.25 or whatever Goodreads doesn't tell you that, which is super annoying. That being said, the first thing I read this month was Waterfronts 4 and Love in Fenton County. One of the things I changed about my channel is I started doing weekend or weekly reading vlogs on a constant because I knew I was going to start working, and I knew that I wanted to be able to encourage myself to continue to read throughout the month, and so I figured reading at least 2 books in a vlog definitely could help me process that, and it surely has. That's how I read 18 books, because I did not think I was going to. Waterfronts 4 is the first book in Love in Fenton County. I don't remember who the main characters are here. I know it's best friends to lovers type of scenario, and it's YA. Sarah Sutton is a good author. This was, I think, her debut novel, and so I had some issues with it, equaling a 3.25, but overall I really enjoyed it, but I had no intention of continuing on, so I didn't continue on with this readathon. Sometimes I will, and I just decided I didn't do it. It happened over this past month, but she did announce her first ever into new adult romance, and I definitely will be picking that up for sure. Then I read An Abundance of Catherine. An Abundance of Catherine by John Green. This was a part of one of those reading vlogs like I talked about. All the reading vlogs will be linked down below. This was part of one of the reading vlogs, and with An Abundance of Catherine, this was pulled off of my unread TBR shelf to figure out if I was gonna get rid of it or not. I am getting rid of it. I did not like it. I gave it a 2. It's about a man who goes on a road trip to figure out if, like, a theorem type of thing for Catherine's in dating, and I really didn't like it, so it was a 2. I don't recommend. Then, in that same vlog, I read The Angels of Indian Lake. This is the final book in the Indian Lake trilogy. I gave it a perfect 5-star. I have a whole review over there. This is the 3rd book. The first book being My Heart is a Chainsaw, which follows Jade Daniels as she is a senior in high school and she believes she's living through a modern day slasher. I always say that one is a slow burn horror, which means the horror doesn't really take place until the last 70% of the novel. Everything else, the rest of the series is perfect. This is what I would count as a perfect trilogy, which I think I'm going to make a video on and talk about, because I don't think I've ever used the words perfect trilogy before, because I don't think I've been in a situation like this in a long time where I give in every book in a series 5 stars. Then I got to my first DNF of the month, and that was Try Not to Breathe by Jennifer R. Herbert. I read this at a point in time where I was in between trying to figure out if I was getting a job and whatever, and so I was in a very bad mental state. And this is all about depression and about 2 people who are really bad mentally, falling in love, and also having some other things to talk about in here, which I don't really want to mention. But it says, it's kind of a funny story, and 13 Reasons Why is like the comp titles that people would use to recommend. I don't think this does it nearly as good as either of those books do, even though I didn't really care for it. It's kind of a funny story. 13 Reasons Why I still very much do enjoy, and I do think it was very important for the time it did come out, but I DNF'd this like 100 pages then. It just, nothing was really connecting with me, and it was really dark and really sad, and I just knew mentally that my brain didn't need it. Also part of my unread TBR shelf type of video type of thing, and so I will be getting rid of it as well, because there's no reason for me to keep something on DNF, especially when I have no intentions of going back. Then I read Tower of Nero. This is Trials of Apollo number 5. I have a whole vlog, whole review video talking about all these books. The 5th book. The first book, called Hidden Oracle, is about Apollo gets sent down to Earth. He's revoked of his godhood, and he meets Meg, and they have to go on a quest to kind of solve his wrongs, I guess is the best way to put it. This is the final book. I gave it a 4. I can announce that here now because the video is there done. I have one more book, which I'm going to be reading in May, for Percy Jackson, and then I officially read all the books in Percy Jackson, which is kind of crazy. I read a very smutty BL manga called All You Want, Whenever You Want. This is a workplace romance. These 2 people are working together, they share the same room, and they end up in a sexual relationship, one would say. I gave it a 3.5. It's exactly what it was trying to do, and so it worked. I read Mating with Mellows, an erotic sentiment candy romance. This was a 21-page little short story that was recommended to be based off of TikTok. Someone did a challenge trying to like really over explain, you know, if you did this, you hold up 5 fingers type of thing. And I was like, I'll go read that book. So I read the book and then I put my finger down and I finished the TikTok or whatever. About a woman who is gone through some really bad things, especially with sweets around her, really trauma things, and she ends up having sex with said sweets. I give it a 2.5. Then with The Idea of You by Robin Lee. I read this because the movie's coming out at the end halfway. Nicholas Gastein. This is about Sloane as she is starting a relationship with rock band leader, or One Direction. It's August Moon in this book. Leader Hayes Campbell. There's a lot of references if it's written about Harry Styles, who really knows. I thought the book was really good. I would recommend it for people who like the early stuff where Taylor Jenkins reads, the hard hittings. We're talking about complicated, that type of stuff. I think you would really enjoy this book. I think you would take a lot out of this book. It also has like one of those endings I don't think a lot of people are going to like, but it was a really popular book when it came out. It has a 3.75. Then I read Girl A by Abigail Dean. This is another one of those books I pulled off my shelf. I'm actually moving this over to a different house. I'm giving this to my sister. Girl A follows a story over in London about a girl who was found running. Her leg is broken. She's about her tourish. She was like 14 at the time. Someone finds her and they call the cops and they realize that she was abused. Her and her siblings were abused at home except for 2 people. And it's about them coming together many years later for a wedding and Davey diving into like their past and things, and Girl A is telling her story. I gave it a 3. It came down to, I wish it was like a literary novel. I think it could have done really well, but because it was a thriller and it relied on some twists and things and thriller actions, I didn't really care for it, and so it was more mid for me than anything else. Moving on, I read Ruthless Ends by Katie Weismer. I know I read this last month as well. I do a reread every time I do one of my videos where I put a spoilery vlog up, which I did do for this video, and I give it a 4.25. The marionettes follows Bao as she is trained to become a marionette, which is a bodyguard for vampires. Witches do this. It's about her time doing that and the story that follows. Then we have Eat Your Heart Out, Volume 1 by Terry Blass and Maddie Newton. This is a graphic novel. The issues are currently out, but the actual like volume doesn't come out, I think, until comes out on August 13th. So I read it. It was an e-arc. This is a 5-star. It was super cute, super fun, very cozy, very low stakes. It's about a girl who runs off when she's 18 to New York to like face her dreams of becoming someone who makes fashion. Her mom is trying to track her down and stuff. Very cute, very adorable, very queer. Then I read Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Tabitha Herbert. This one I'm not going to tell you my rating for because this is for read until I get a 5-star. This is about 2 people who are going off for the same scholarship who end up having to go out into the wilderness for the scholarship, and it's a very cute romance. It actually made me want to read more Tabitha Herbert as an adult because I think, or Talia Hibbert, that's what it is. That's why my brain thinks it's wrong. Talia Hibbert. I read Get a Life, Chloe Bride. I didn't really care for it. And so I'm thinking maybe I'll continue in that series. Maybe the sequels are better. There was something about it that this romance, once it really took a blossom, was so cute and so sweet. And the characters were so cute and so in love that I kind of did like it really by the end. But the beginning part was a little mixy for me. The next one I read was If You Knew My Name by Lisa Robert Carter. This one does not come out, I want to say it's, the end of May 28th. This is about our main character. He is a senior in high school and up and coming rapper. The synopsis I feel like is way too much, but it's about him joining this poetry class in school, and it's about the people in that poetry class and him while they're also dealing with some other stuff, and I think it's really handled really well. I think the author does a really good job. It is written in verse, and so I think the prose are really good in it. For the most part, I did give it a 3.5, but I would highly recommend it for teenage audiences. I think if I was a teenager, I think it would have probably been like a 4.5. There's a few choices that were made from the characters that I didn't really necessarily agree with, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it, even though I did give it a average rating. I think it's very good. Then I read Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer by Casey Gilly and Jared Joe. Apparently I've already read this, which is why it seems so familiar to me. I'm actually going to up the score. I think I'm going to give it a 3. I think averagely, I think it makes sense to be a 3. This is about Buffy. It's set in an alternate universe. She's the final vampire slayer, and she's out, and it's like her old man Logan story, and she ends up getting sent the daughter of Willow and Tara. I think it's Willow and Tara. It might be Willow and Kennedy. Willow and her spouse, her daughter, who they believe is going to be in the next Slayer. So about that story. Very short. It's 112 pages, and it is like conditioned into that small world. I read The Witcher Volume 1, House of Glass. This is by Tal Tombin. This one I gave a 3 as well. If you like The Witcher, I'd obviously recommend. I didn't really think the artwork was that good, and I also did not like how to make girl like a guilty. What is that called? A gaddy? Where you like a grandpa, but he's also like kind of like a daddy. I tend to like him when he looks a little younger because I find Geralt super fucking hot. But this is about Geralt as he found a man in the woods who believes that his dead wife is haunting a mansion, and so he has to go solve this problem. It was good. Like I said, I don't really know how there's multiple versions. Like it's a very condensed story. You get the whole thing in a single volume. So I might try a second volume. Then I also read Year Zero Volume 1 by Benjamin Percy, Roman Rosand, and Cara Andrews. This was a 4 out of 5 star. Beginning an apocalypse, you're following several different characters as they're going through it. A hitman, someone who's prepared for this, someone who's not prepared for this, someone who's going through a war zone, that type of thing. And I felt like it was really well done. I'm very intrigued. We'll definitely be continuing onwards. It screamed, adapt me into a Netflix television show. And then I read Crema by Johnny Christmas. I would have to mention this is a comics anthology original. I like to say those things, particularly just for the simple fact that, like, if you're looking for it and you can't find it anywhere else, it's because it was a comics anthology. You have to be a subscriber to read it. This was really fucking weird. This is about someone who loves coffee, who ends up falling with a girl who has a coffee farm. And then, like, there's like a horror element to it as well. They're being haunted by ghosts from like the 1800s. And it was weird. It was weird. I didn't really care for it. I gave it a 2.75. And then lastly, I DNF All These Sunken Souls, a black horror anthology by Cersei Molatsky. I ended up DNFing this collection because I read the first 5 and none of them hit it off for me. None of them like really worked. And I read the beginnings of some of the other stories and I was not pulled in. And so I decided it wasn't for me and I'd rather move it along to another person who could love it more. So that's the reason why. So I hit 2 DNFs this month. Isn't that crazy? I think that's crazy because I don't ever DNF shit. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll talk to you guys on the next time. Thanks for watching and goodbye.